In the royal portrait, slowly darkened by post-crisis storms, one name is emerging more clearly as a symbol of hope and renewal: Princess Charlotte. Though still just a young girl, Charlotte has surprised many with her natural poise, intelligent gaze, and quiet strength. What's even more astonishing is how increasingly often she is being compared to one of the most iconic figures in British royal history, Princess Diana. From subtle gestures like the way she waves or tilts her head in greeting, to her sensitive awareness of those around her, Charlotte seems to carry the spirit of the grandmother she never met. This resemblance is not just a matter of genes or appearance. It feels like a quiet, emotional passing of the torch in a royal family long shadowed by grief and regret. According to several palace insiders, King Charles has developed a growing affection for Charlotte. Not just because she is his granddaughter, but because in her he sees flickers of the woman who once made the whole world stop and mourn, Diana Spencer. Could it be that Charlotte's presence is subtly softening the lingering shadows that have never fully lifted between King Charles and the memory of Diana? And might this special bond be powerful enough to position Charlotte as a key figure in shaping the future image of the British monarchy in the 21st century? The morning of November 15th, 2024, dawned crisp and clear over London. Westminster Abbey stood majestic against the autumn sky, its ancient stones preparing to witness yet another chapter in royal history. Inside, the cream of British society had gathered for the annual Remembrance Day service, a solemn occasion honoring those who gave their lives for their country. The royal family took their positions with practiced precision. Each member understood their role in this sacred ceremony. King Charles, resplendent in his military uniform, stood with the gravity befitting a monarch who had served his nation for decades. Beside him, the Queen Consort maintained her composed elegance, while the Prince and Princess of Wales positioned themselves with their 3 children. Prince George, now 11, carried himself with the growing awareness of his future role. Prince Louis, at 6, fidgeted slightly but remained admirably still for his age. And then there was Princess Charlotte, 9 years old, standing between her brothers with a poise that seemed to emanate from somewhere deep within her young soul. The service proceeded with its traditional solemnity. Veterans in their finest uniforms stood proud despite their advancing years, their chests adorned with medals that told stories of courage and sacrifice. The Archbishop's voice echoed through the Abbey as he spoke of duty, honor, and remembrance. The congregation sang hymns that had comforted generations of mourners and celebrated generations of heroes. It was during the moment of silence, that sacred 2 minutes when the entire nation pauses to remember the fallen, that something extraordinary happened. As the clock struck 11, Westminster Abbey fell into a profound quiet that seemed to hold the very breath of history. But this silence was different. It held a moment that would be replayed countless times, analyzed by body language experts, and treasured by a nation that suddenly saw its future queen in an entirely new light. Princess Charlotte, standing amid the pomp and ceremony, surrounded by centuries of protocol and tradition, did something that came purely from her heart. In those moments, as the Abbey held its collective breath, Charlotte's instinctive compassion shone through. Her small gesture, captured by the cameras that followed every royal movement, revealed a depth of understanding that seemed impossible for someone so young. The immediate reaction was palpable. A ripple of emotion swept through the congregation as people witnessed something genuine and unrehearsed. This wasn't a moment manufactured for the cameras or choreographed by palace officials. This was Princess Charlotte showing the world exactly who she is beneath the titles and tiaras. The silence that followed wasn't just the prescribed remembrance silence anymore. It had transformed into something deeper, acknowledging that they had all witnessed a moment of pure humanity from a young princess who had shown what true nobility really means. Even the most seasoned royal watchers, who had covered decades of royal events and thought they had seen everything, found themselves moved by what they were witnessing. This was the moment when Princess Charlotte stepped beyond being simply a royal child and revealed herself as someone who would one day lead with both her head and her heart, a princess unlike any other. Charlotte Elizabeth Diana was born on May 2, 2015, arriving into a world where her very existence was already breaking barriers. As the first princess in British royal history to retain her place in the line of succession, regardless of whether she gained younger brothers, Charlotte represented a new era for the monarchy. The succession to the Crown Act of 2013 had changed centuries of male primogeniture, ensuring that daughters would have an equal claim to the throne as sons. Charlotte's birth announcement was met with unprecedented global excitement. Unlike previous generations, where royal daughters were often seen as secondary to their brothers, Charlotte's arrival was celebrated as the birth of a future queen. Her name carried profound significance, honoring both her grandfather, King Charles, and her late grandmother, Princess Diana, whose middle name Charlotte bore with pride. From her earliest public appearances, Charlotte displayed a personality that set her apart from other royal children. While Prince George carried himself with the serious demeanor expected of a future king, and Prince Louis charmed with his playful antics, Charlotte struck a unique balance between regal composure and genuine warmth. Royal photographers noticed how she naturally positioned herself during family portraits, instinctively understanding angles and maintaining perfect posture even as a toddler. Her education at Lambrook School in Berkshire reflects the modern approach William and Catherine have taken to raising their children. Unlike previous royal generations educated by private tutors within palace walls, Charlotte experiences a relatively normal school environment while still receiving the specialized training necessary for her future role. Her curriculum includes traditional subjects alongside unique additions like constitutional history, diplomatic protocol, and multiple languages. Teachers describe her as exceptionally bright, with a particular gift for languages and a natural ability to connect with people from all backgrounds. Palace insiders reveal that Charlotte has already begun informal training in royal duties. She participates in mock ceremonies within Kensington Palace, learning the intricate protocols that govern royal behavior. Her grandmother's former lady-in-waiting provides etiquette lessons, while constitutional experts explain the complex relationships between the monarchy, parliament, and the Commonwealth realms. What makes Charlotte truly unique is her intuitive understanding of public service. Unlike many children her age who might be overwhelmed by constant public attention, Charlotte seems to thrive in situations where she can connect with others. Her visits to charitable organizations show a young girl who genuinely cares about making a difference. She asks thoughtful questions, remembers details about people she meets, and displays an empathy that cannot be taught or manufactured. Royal biographers note that Charlotte possesses qualities reminiscent of both her great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, and her grandmother, Princess Diana. From Queen Elizabeth, she has inherited an innate sense of duty and an understanding of the weight of monarchy. From Diana, she has gained the ability to connect emotionally with people and a natural compassion for those facing difficulties. Her position as third in line to the throne gives Charlotte a unique perspective within the royal family. She understands that she may never become queen if her older brother has children. Yet she also knows that circumstances could elevate her to the throne. This awareness seems to have given her a balanced approach to her royal duties, taking them seriously while maintaining the spontaneity and joy of childhood. Charlotte represents the future of the British monarchy, a bridge between ancient traditions and modern expectations, carrying forward the best qualities of previous generations while adding her own distinctive character to the royal legacy. The making of a future queen, behind the carefully guarded walls of Kensington Palace. Princess Charlotte's education unfolds with meticulous precision, designed to prepare her for a role that may one day require her to lead a nation and head the Commonwealth. Her daily routine begins at 7 each morning with a structured schedule that balances academic excellence with the unique demands of royal preparation. Unlike the traditional royal education of past centuries, Charlotte's learning experience incorporates both classical instruction and contemporary methodologies that reflect the modern monarchy's evolution. Her private tutors, carefully selected from Britain's most prestigious educational institutions, provide specialized instruction in subjects ranging from constitutional law to international relations. Dr. Margaret Thornfield, formerly of Oxford University, guides Charlotte through British constitutional history, explaining the delicate balance between monarchical tradition and democratic governance. These sessions, conducted in the palace's oak-paneled library, cover everything from the Magna Carta to modern parliamentary procedure, ensuring Charlotte understands the constitutional framework those she may one day oversee. Language instruction occupies a significant portion of Charlotte's curriculum, reflecting the global nature of the modern Commonwealth. Beyond her fluent French and rapidly developing Spanish, Charlotte is learning Mandarin Chinese and Hindi, languages that will prove invaluable in future diplomatic relations. Her tutors report that she demonstrates exceptional linguistic aptitude, often practicing conversations with palace staff who are native speakers of these languages. Professor James Wellington, former headmaster of Eton College, provides instruction in public speaking and presentation skills. Charlotte practices delivering speeches to small audiences within the palace, learning to project confidence while maintaining the warmth that has become her trademark. These sessions include training in handling unexpected questions, managing media interactions, and maintaining composure under pressure. Her natural charisma, evident even at 9 years old, suggests she will excel in public-facing royal duties. Cultural education forms another crucial component of Charlotte's preparation. Art historian Lady Penelope Ashworth introduces her to the Royal Art Collection, teaching her to appreciate and discuss the masterpieces that form part of the Crown's cultural heritage. These lessons extend beyond mere appreciation, as Charlotte learns the stories behind each piece and their significance to British history and culture. Music lessons with the royal pianist help her understand the role of arts patronage in royal duties. Physical education takes on special significance in Charlotte's routine, as her future role may require extensive travel and long ceremonial duties. Her fitness regimen includes swimming in the palace pool, horseback riding at Windsor, and tennis lessons that have already shown her competitive spirit. These activities also serve as stress relief from the intensive academic schedule, allowing Charlotte to maintain the joyful energy that endears her to the public. Perhaps most importantly, Charlotte receives instruction in what palace officials term empathy education. Child psychologist Dr. Sarah Mitchell works with Charlotte to develop her natural compassionate instincts, teaching her how to connect meaningfully with people from all walks of life. These sessions include role-playing exercises where Charlotte practices comforting those in distress, asking appropriate questions during hospital visits, and showing genuine interest in diverse community concerns. Weekend excursions provide practical application of Charlotte's lessons. Accompanied by her parents and security detail, she visits homeless shelters, children's hospitals, and community centers, always encouraged to engage naturally with the people she meets. These experiences are carefully debriefed afterward, helping Charlotte understand the impact of royal attention on charitable causes and community morale. The combination of rigorous academic instruction, practical experience, and character development creates a comprehensive foundation for Charlotte's future role, preparing her not just to wear the crown, but to carry its responsibilities with wisdom, compassion, and genuine dedication to public service. When protocol met heart, the moment that would define Princess Charlotte's public image began with the smallest of gestures, yet it carried the weight of centuries. As the Remembrance Day service continued its solemn progression through Westminster Abbey, Charlotte found herself positioned between her brothers, her small frame dwarfed by the grandeur surrounding her. The ancient abbey's Gothic arches seemed to tower endlessly above, while the assembled congregation of dignitaries, veterans, and royal family members created an atmosphere of profound reverence that even a child could feel in her bones. The service had reached its most sacred moment, the 2-minute silence that honors the fallen. Across the abbey, hundreds of people stood motionless, their heads bowed in respect for those who had made the ultimate sacrifice. The silence was absolute, broken only by the distant sounds of London traffic and the occasional shuffle of fabric as someone shifted position. It was during these moments of remembrance that Charlotte's attention was drawn to something that would change everything. 3 rows ahead of the royal family sat Colonel James Morrison, an 87-year-old veteran of the Falklands War. Morrison had served his country with distinction, earning multiple commendations for bravery under fire. Today, however, the weight of his memories and the loss of his fellow servicemen had overwhelmed him. Tears streamed silently down his weathered cheeks as he remembered friends who had not returned home, young men whose lives had been cut short in service to their nation. The sight of this elderly veteran, standing proud despite his tears, touched something deep within Charlotte's 9-year-old heart. Royal protocol dictated that she should remain perfectly still, eyes forward, maintaining the dignified composure expected of a princess. Generations of royal training emphasized the importance of proper behavior during state occasions, the need to represent the crown with unwavering dignity, regardless of personal feelings or external circumstances. But Charlotte's natural compassion proved stronger than protocol. Without hesitation or consideration for the cameras or consequences, she quietly slipped from her position between her brothers. Palace security, trained to notice every movement, tensed momentarily before recognizing that the princess posed no security threat, merely following an impulse that spoke to her character. Charlotte moved with remarkable grace for someone so young, her footsteps silent on the abbey's ancient stones as she made her way toward Colonel Morrison. The congregation, initially unaware of the movement, gradually became conscious that something extraordinary was happening. Cameras that had been focused on the altar swung to follow Charlotte's progress, while members of the royal family watched with a mixture of pride and concern as their youngest female member departed from centuries of established protocol. When Charlotte reached Colonel Morrison, she did something no royal handbook could have prepared anyone for. She gently placed her small hand on the veteran's arm, offering silent comfort to a man whose service and sacrifice she instinctively understood deserved recognition. Morrison looked down to see the young princess standing beside him, her expression filled with genuine compassion and respect. The tears continued to flow down his cheeks, but now they were accompanied by a smile of wonder and gratitude. In that moment, Charlotte had done more than break protocol. She had demonstrated that true nobility lies not in following rules, but in following one's heart toward acts of genuine human kindness and understanding. The monarch's rare display of emotion, King Charles III, a man schooled from birth in the art of royal composure, found himself witnessing something that shattered every lesson he had learned about maintaining dignified restraint in public. Throughout his decades as heir apparent and now as monarch, Charles had mastered the delicate balance of showing appropriate emotion while retaining the gravitas expected of the crown. He had weathered personal scandals, family tragedies, and constitutional crises with carefully measured responses that revealed feeling without compromising dignity. But watching his granddaughter Charlotte comfort the elderly veteran created a moment that transcended all protocol and touched the very core of his being as both a grandfather and a king. Body language expert Dr. Patricia Henley, who has analyzed royal behavior for over 2 decades, described Charles's reaction as unprecedented in her experience. The king's carefully maintained posture softened visibly as he watched with Charlotte's spontaneous act of compassion. His shoulders, typically held in perfect military bearing, relaxed slightly as genuine pride replaced the ceremonial formality. Most remarkably, Charles's eyes filled with tears that he did not attempt to hide a display of emotion so rare that seasoned royal photographers struggled to recall a similar moment in his public life. The transformation in Charles's expression told a story that words could never capture. Here was a man who had spent his entire life preparing for kingship, understanding the weight of the crown and the sacrifices required to wear it with honor. He had watched his own mother, Queen Elizabeth II, demonstrate unwavering dedication to duty throughout her remarkable reign, setting an example of service that seemed almost impossible to follow. Now, in his granddaughter's simple gesture, Charles saw the future of the monarchy embodied in a way that no amount of training or preparation could have achieved. Palace insiders later revealed that Charles had been deeply moved by what he witnessed, describing it as a moment that reaffirmed his faith in the institution he now leads. The king, who has long advocated for a more accessible and emotionally connected monarchy, saw in Charlotte's actions the perfect synthesis of royal dignity and human compassion. Her ability to maintain proper respect for the occasion while following her instinctive desire to comfort someone in distress represented exactly the kind of modern monarchy Charles envisions for the future. The king's emotional response rippled through the congregation as people recognized they were witnessing something extraordinary. Veterans who had seen decades of royal visits noted that Charles's reaction was unlike anything they had observed before. His tears were not just those of a proud grandfather, but of a monarch recognizing that the future of his family's thousand-year legacy was secure in the hands of someone who truly understood what it means to serve others. In the days following the ceremony, Charles spoke privately with Charlotte about her actions, not to criticize her departure from protocol, but to express his profound pride in her instinctive understanding of what true royalty means. Palace sources suggest that this conversation marked a turning point in Charlotte's preparation for her future role, with Charles taking a more personal interest in ensuring she understands that the greatest strength of the monarchy lies not in its traditions and ceremonies, but in its capacity to touch lives and provide comfort to those who need it most. The king's tears in Westminster Abbey became a symbol of hope for a monarchy that remains relevant and vital by never forgetting its fundamental purpose of serving the people with genuine care and compassion. Whispers in the royal circle. The immediate aftermath of Charlotte's unprecedented gesture sent ripples of conversation through the most exclusive circles of British society, from senior members of the royal household to longtime courtiers who had witnessed decades of royal protocol. Within hours of the ceremony's conclusion, private phones buzzed with calls between ladies-in-waiting, equerries, and palace officials, all attempting to process what they had witnessed and understand its implications for the future of royal conduct. These conversations, typically conducted in the carefully modulated tones of diplomatic discretion, carried an undercurrent of excitement that even the most experienced royal staff found difficult to suppress. Sir Malcolm Peyton, the king's private secretary, and a man who had served the royal family for over 30 years, found himself in the unusual position of fielding inquiries from constitutional experts, protocol officials, and international diplomatic representatives, all seeking to understand whether Charlotte's actions represented a new direction for royal behavior or simply the spontaneous kindness of a child. Peyton, known for his measured responses to even the most unusual royal circumstances, admitted privately to colleagues that he had never encountered a situation quite like this one, where adherence to protocols seemed less important than the genuine human connections Charlotte had created. The conversation that mattered most, however, took place behind the closed doors of King Charles's private study at Buckingham Palace, where the immediate royal family gathered that evening to discuss the day's events. Prince William and Princess Catherine, initially concerned that their daughter might face criticism for departing from established protocol, were surprised to find Charles not only supportive, but genuinely moved by Charlotte's instinctive compassion. The king, still processing his own emotional response to witnessing his granddaughter's gesture, spoke at length about how Charlotte's actions embodied the very essence of what he hoped the modern monarchy could become. These family discussions revealed the depth of thought that Charlotte had already given to her royal role, despite her young age. When asked about her decision to comfort Colonel Morrison, Charlotte's response demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of duty that surprised even her parents. She explained that she remembered her great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, always speaking about the importance of putting service before self. In that moment, she felt that Colonel Morrison needed someone to acknowledge his service and sacrifice. Her simple explanation carried profound implications for how the royal family understood their role in contemporary British society. The ripple effects of these private conversations soon became apparent in subtle changes to royal protocol and planning. Palace officials began incorporating more opportunities for spontaneous interaction into royal engagements, recognizing that Charlotte's natural ability to connect with people represented a valuable asset that should be nurtured rather than constrained. Senior members of the royal household found themselves reconsidering long-standing practices that prioritize form over substance, acknowledging that Charlotte's generation might require different approaches to public service. International observers within diplomatic circles noted the significance of Charlotte's actions with particular interest, recognizing that her behavior represented an evolution in royal conduct that could influence monarchical institutions worldwide. Representatives from other European royal families reached out through diplomatic channels to express admiration for Charlotte's instinctive understanding of her role. At the same time, Commonwealth officials saw in her actions a promising sign that the British royal family remained capable of inspiring genuine affection and respect across diverse cultures and communities. The private conversations that followed Charlotte's moment in Westminster Abbey ultimately confirmed what many had already suspected: this young princess possessed qualities that could not be taught or trained, characteristics that emerged from genuine compassion and an innate understanding of what it truly means to serve others with dignity, grace, and authentic human connection. A nation's heart captured. Within minutes of Charlotte's gesture being captured on camera, social media platforms across the United Kingdom and beyond erupted with an outpouring of emotion unlike anything seen for a royal family member in recent memory. The hashtag Princess Charlotte began trending globally within the first hour, accompanied by thousands of posts expressing admiration, pride, and hope for the future of the monarchy. British citizens from all walks of life shared their reactions, with many noting that Charlotte's simple act of kindness had restored their faith in the relevance and humanity of the royal institution during challenging times. The response transcended traditional political and social divisions that often characterized discussions about the monarchy, creating a rare moment of national unity around a shared recognition of genuine goodness and compassion. Traditional media outlets struggled to keep pace with the unprecedented public reaction as newspaper editors scrambled to redesign front pages and television producers extended news programs to accommodate the overwhelming public interest. The Daily Telegraph's headline read, "A Princess for the People," while The Guardian, historically more critical of royal coverage, ran an editorial titled "When Protocol Bows to Humanity." Even international publications took notice, with the New York Times describing Charlotte's actions as a masterclass in modern leadership from an unlikely source, and Le Figaro in France praising the natural nobility that cannot be taught or manufactured. Television news programs found themselves inundated with calls from viewers wanting to share their own reactions and experiences. BBC News received over 10,000 emails in the first 24 hours, with many writers sharing personal stories of how Charlotte's gesture had moved them to tears or inspired them to perform their own acts of kindness. ITV conducted street interviews across the country, finding that regardless of age, background, or political affiliation, people consistently expressed pride in having Charlotte as a future representative of their nation. The reaction from military communities proved particularly powerful, with veterans organizations across the Commonwealth issuing statements praising Charlotte's instinctive understanding of service and sacrifice. Colonel Morrison himself, the recipient of Charlotte's compassion, became an overnight sensation as media outlets sought interviews about his experience. His description of Charlotte as an angel in a child's form resonated deeply with audiences who had witnessed the exact moment of pure human connection. Charitable organizations reported unprecedented spikes in donations and volunteer applications, with many citing Charlotte's example as inspiration for their decision to become more involved in community service. Children's hospitals across the United Kingdom saw an increase in families visiting patients to provide comfort, directly attributing this surge to Charlotte's demonstration that small gestures can have a profound impact on those who are suffering or in need of support. The international response proved equally remarkable, with royal watchers and constitutional experts from around the world analyzing Charlotte's actions within the context of evolving monarchical roles in the 21st century. Australian newspapers ran extensive coverage highlighting Charlotte's connection to their nation as a future head of the Commonwealth, while Canadian officials expressed enthusiasm about her apparent understanding of service to diverse communities. Social media platforms became virtual galleries of artistic tributes, with professional artists and amateur creators alike producing loadings, sketches, and digital artwork celebrating Charlotte's moment of compassion. These creative expressions, shared millions of times across various platforms, demonstrated how deeply Charlotte's gesture had penetrated public consciousness and inspired creative expression among people who felt compelled to commemorate what they had witnessed. The overwhelming positive response created a phenomenon that royal communication experts described as unprecedented in its scope, authenticity, and potential for lasting impact on public perception of the monarchy's future. The ripple effect, the profound impact of Charlotte's spontaneous act of compassion, extended far beyond the immediate emotional response, creating fundamental changes in how the royal family approached public engagements and ceremonial duties. Palace officials, recognizing that Charlotte's natural instincts had achieved more positive publicity and genuine connection than years of carefully orchestrated public relations campaigns, began incorporating greater flexibility into royal protocols to allow for authentic human moments. The rigid scheduling that had traditionally governed royal appearances gave way to more organic interactions, with security details receiving updated instructions to accommodate spontaneous acts of kindness rather than immediately intervening to maintain predetermined protocols. Senior members of the royal household found themselves rewriting centuries-old guidelines for ceremonial behavior, acknowledging that Charlotte's generation required approaches that balanced traditional dignity with authentic emotional expression. These changes represented a seismic shift in royal culture, moving away from the stoic formality that had characterized the monarchy for generations toward a more accessible and emotionally intelligent public presence. The influence on other royal family members became apparent almost immediately, with subsequent public appearances showing an increased willingness to engage personally with members of the public during official duties. Prince William and Princess Catherine, already known for their relatively informal approach to royal engagement, found validation for their parenting philosophy in Charlotte's instinctive compassion and began incorporating similar opportunities for their other children to demonstrate natural kindness during appropriate occasions. King Charles, deeply moved by his granddaughter's example, began including more unscheduled stops during royal visits, allowing time for the kind of meaningful personal connections that Charlotte had demonstrated were possible, even within formal ceremonial contexts. The changes extended beyond the immediate royal family to influence the broader institution of the monarchy itself. Commonwealth representatives noted with interest how Charlotte's actions had resonated across diverse cultures and communities, suggesting that authentic human compassion transcended cultural boundaries in ways that traditional royal ceremony could not achieve. This recognition led to discussions about incorporating similar approaches to royal visits throughout the Commonwealth realms, with several nations requesting more informal elements in future royal tours that would allow for genuine interaction between royal visitors and local communities. Educational institutions that provide training for royal duties began revising their curricula to emphasize emotional intelligence and authentic human connection alongside traditional protocol and ceremonial procedure. The Royal Collection Trust updated exhibition materials to include examples of royal compassion throughout history, creating educational programs that highlighted the monarchy's role in providing comfort and support during national moments of grief and celebration. Military organizations and veterans groups reported increased engagement from younger generations who had been inspired by Charlotte's recognition of service and sacrifice, with recruitment officers noting that her example had helped bridge generational gaps between veteran communities and contemporary youth. Charitable organizations discovered that the Charlotte effect had created lasting changes in public attitudes toward community service and voluntary work, with sustained increases in both donations and personal involvement that extended well beyond the initial surge of enthusiasm. International diplomatic circles began recognizing the soft power potential of authentic royal compassion, with several nations expressing interest in developing their own approaches to ceremonial leadership that emphasize genuine human connection over rigid formality. The long-term implications of Charlotte's moment in Westminster Abbey continued to unfold as palace planners began designing future state occasions with built-in opportunities for spontaneous human connection, ensuring that the monarchy could maintain its ceremonial grandeur while remaining emotionally accessible to the people it serves. These systematic changes represented Charlotte's most significant contribution to the evolution of the modern monarchy, demonstrating that a single moment of authentic compassion could reshape institutional culture and create lasting positive change for generations to come. The Future Crown's foundation, royal historians and constitutional experts who witnessed Charlotte's extraordinary moment of compassion, began drawing parallels between her instinctive behavior and the qualities that have defined the most beloved and effective monarchs throughout British history. Professor Dame Elizabeth Hartwell, Cambridge University's leading authority on royal constitutional development, noted that Charlotte's actions demonstrated the rare combination of emotional intelligence, natural leadership, and genuine service orientation that characterized legendary rulers like Queen Elizabeth I and Queen Victoria during their most successful periods. Her analysis suggested that Charlotte possessed innate qualities that could not be taught through traditional royal education characteristics that emerged from deep personal conviction rather than learned protocol. The implications for Charlotte's eventual reign, should circumstances elevate her to the throne, extend far beyond her ability to connect emotionally with her subjects. Constitutional scholars observe that modern monarchs must navigate increasingly complex relationships between traditional ceremonial roles and contemporary democratic governance, requiring skills that blend diplomatic sophistication with authentic human connection. Charlotte's demonstration of natural empathy suggests she possesses the emotional foundation necessary to build trust and maintain relevance for the monarchy in an era when public institutions face unprecedented scrutiny and skepticism from citizens who demand authenticity from their leaders. Child development experts who have studied Charlotte's public appearances note consistent patterns of behavior that indicate remarkable emotional maturity and social awareness for someone her age. Dr. Margaret Whitfield, a leading specialist in childhood psychology and development, observes that Charlotte's ability to read social situations and respond appropriately suggests advanced emotional intelligence that typically develops much later in adolescence or early adulthood. Her capacity to maintain appropriate respect for ceremonial dignity while following compassionate instincts indicates sophisticated judgment that bodes well for her future ability to balance the competing demands of modern royal leadership. International observers from other monarchical systems have expressed particular interest in Charlotte's natural approach to royal duty, recognizing that her generation will inherit institutions that must adapt to rapidly changing social expectations while maintaining historical continuity. Representatives from European royal families note that Charlotte's behavior reflects evolving attitudes toward leadership that emphasize service and emotional connection over hierarchical authority, suggesting that her eventual reign could serve as a model for constitutional monarchies worldwide seeking to maintain relevance in increasingly democratic societies. The impact of Charlotte's character development extends beyond her potential to influence the broader perception of inherited leadership in democratic societies. Political scientists studying public attitudes toward traditional institutions note that Charlotte's authentic compassion helps address common criticisms of hereditary privilege by demonstrating that an inherited position can serve genuine public good when combined with personal dedication to service. Her example suggests that future royal leadership can maintain public support by emphasizing duty and compassion over privilege and ceremony, creating sustainable foundations for monarchical institutions in societies that increasingly value merit-based achievement over inherited status. Palace planners already consider Charlotte's unique qualities when developing long-term strategies for royal engagement and public service, recognizing that her natural abilities represent valuable assets for maintaining institutional relevance across changing political and social landscapes. Educational specialists working with the royal family suggest that Charlotte's formal preparation should build upon her existing emotional intelligence rather than constraining it through rigid protocol training, ensuring that her natural compassion remains authentic while developing the sophisticated understanding necessary for effective constitutional leadership. The foundation Charlotte has established through her instinctive kindness and emotional wisdom suggests that whatever role she ultimately plays in the British royal family, she will bring qualities of heart and mind that honor the best traditions of royal service while adapting them to meet the needs and expectations of future generations who will judge the monarchy not by its historical grandeur, but by its continued capacity to serve with genuine care and authentic dedication to the common good. In those precious moments at Westminster Abbey, Princess Charlotte showed us that the true royalty isn't measured in crowns or ceremonies, but in the courage to follow one's heart toward compassion. Her simple gesture reminded a nation that the future of the monarchy lies not in ancient protocols, but in timeless human kindness. As Charlotte continues to grow into her destiny, we've witnessed the foundation of what promises to be a reign defined by genuine service and authentic care. This is Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana, future Queen of Hearts, proving that sometimes the most powerful moments come from the smallest hands reaching out in love.